think there won't be as many leaving as they think there will be, but there won't be where the government makes its money on the non-doms is, okay, they're not paying much income tax in the UK, but if they're buying a nice property in Belgravia for £20 million, that's a lot of stamp duty. So I think a lot of the non-doms will be staying here.
But these new rates we're talking about at the top end, sort of £35,000 in effect, council tax, let's call it that. I mean, is that going to have any impact whatsoever? We've got this great trickle-down theory that all starts in London and works its way through.
That's right. Well, just to step back a little bit of a technical guide, the reason why you need the tax on properties is that they're often owned by companies offshore. And the reason for that is to save inheritance tax. So if you're saving inheritance tax on a £20 million property, maybe £35,000 a year is the price you're willing to pay for it. So it's a bit of a sort of swings and roundabouts.
Well, I suppose what we need, we haven't had for many a year, is a look at council tax banding, but I guess most politicians are pretty scared because the ultimate result of that would be we'd all pay more, right?
That's right, which is probably why they're probably going to rebrand it slightly as a mansion tax and start with the more expensive properties and then work their way down to cheaper properties over time.
What's your view on that?
Well, I think the mansion tax is just a non-discussion item, really. It's window dressing. I think that it's going to affect 97,000 houses in the United Kingdom, which is a tiny number. I think there will be quite a lot of heat and emotion around those that are valued around about the 2 million mark. I can see quite a lot of people appealing against that. The payment at 2 million is going to be only 3,000 a year, so it's not a huge amount of money. But it rises very steeply when you start talking about tens and 20 millions. So I think it will have quite a big impact in some of the wealthiest parts. What I would say broadly is that the property industry is already heavily taxed. It is massively taxed. And so I think when politicians talk about more tax, I think again there's a certain amount of window dressing going on here.
Do people still look at council tax? Is that still, given the property inflation we've had, is which band you're in? Is that important these days?
I mean, when you buy a house, yes, it matters to everybody. But the fact is that I think that if you're shopping in that price band, you know full well how much you're going to pay, and you've priced that into the budget. I just agree that at some stage politicians are going to have to revalue the properties in every band, and that's probably the huge political issue, really.
I think one of the interesting things about the market last year, when central London was viewed as overheating, was that trying to control the market through mortgage lending rules showed that it was ineffective. In central London, something like 60 to 70% of properties were being bought by cash buyers and overseas nationals. And so whatever you do in terms of mortgage rules doesn't impact that. I would be interested in circumstances like that to impose the sort of thing they have in Australia or indeed in Hong Kong, to actually have different tiers of stamp duty for non-British nationals buying property. And that could have taken the heat out, but a big bold step for any politician to make.
Again, lots of nodding heads here. Actually, we've mentioned London, and in some ways I wanted to avoid it, but actually you can't really, because in many ways everything we're talking about tonight and the whole politics of this is born out of what happened in London and how it has gone out. I mean, just how much of a freak show is that London property market, and how much better off and sensible would life be if we didn't have that southeast bull? And I guess there's absolutely nothing we can do about it.
The really scary thing is that the politicians live in London, the media, with respect, live in London, that the senior managers of the bankers and everybody else live in London, and they view the London market as the UK market, and it's not. It's very important, but if you make policy based on London, I think you distort the whole of the UK.
I mean, when people talk about house prices, so often they're really talking about what happens in a handful of postcodes in central London. If you talk to people who live in many parts of northeast Britain, there are loads of houses that aren't selling, and house prices are not rising. Same for places like North Wales. So I think that what the London market does is distort the discussion about house prices and loan to values and everything else. So I think it's unhelpful in that way.
What would happen in the housing associations in London if the Tories got in and went ahead with their plans? Presumably there would be a huge impact.
would be a massive impact. Yeah, I mean the amount of right to buy would be huge. It'd be a big loss.